Hello and welcome to the Protect and Prevent podcast. My name is Opal Singleton. I'm the host of your show. Also happen to be the president and CEO of an organization called MillionKids.org. Million Kids is an organization based out of Southern California. We have been combating human trafficking and online exploitation for well over 15 years now. I am a post-certified law enforcement trainer, and I have worked with the Riverside County Sheriff Department for now 15 years as a training and outreach coordinator for the Human Trafficking Task Force right here in Riverside County. It's in California, just east of Los Angeles and north of the border, so it gets very interesting out here. But I have been following this idea of sextortion and sextortion based on technology, and that's what I want to share with you today, is all about how artificial intelligence can work with the crime of sextortion. Now, if you're new to this crime, sextortion is simply a combination of the word sex and extortion, and it has been going on for a very long time. I've been educating on it. I'm known for tens of thousands of hours of research on this subject, and Million Kids also has a team of individuals that combat these crimes and have a whole team of researchers where everything that we do is based on case study. Now, there's a case that happened in Kentucky this past week that came up that just broke my heart. And that's what I want to talk about today and give you some thoughts about how to deal with sextortion that is based on the idea of artificial intelligence. Now, it's a fairly simple concept in that what is happening is technology is changing so that they can alter anybody's image. Yeah, even grandma and grandpa, okay? They can alter anybody's image and take a portion of the body parts and then put other body parts on it and even alter the background and alter the voice. There are many ways that an image can be altered. If you think about the power of that, we are just getting started in our society as we began to live in a world without borders and a home without walls. Because literally by, I would say, Easter of this year, if not today, you won't be able to believe a thing you see out there. It's already had a lot of changes. So artificial intelligence, while it really can be powerful, it's powerful in combating crime. It can gather up a lot of evidence and can gather up a lot of information. It can create scenarios. It can form information in ways that makes it easier for investigations to happen. There are many good uses for AI, but when it's used badly, when it's used for criminal activity, it can be absolutely devastating. And my intention with this particular podcast is to prepare parents and prepare leaders such as counselors and teachers and law enforcement and fire departments to understand how this is going to impact our young people. So this particular podcast is called Protect and Prevent. Our code word for it is P3 Kids. That's because it is Protect and Prevent podcast for Million Kids. So thank you for joining us. So as I began to research this, I say to myself, how are tech companies, allowed to create technology, if you will, create images that are going to be harmful for other people? And, I'm certain that it can be a lot of fun. I mean, I see kids already going in, and there's all these games out there where you can modify what you're seeing, and it's part of game playing and like that. But when it's used on real live people, it can be harmful. One of the apps I looked at is an app called the Parrot app. Yeah, like the bird, parrot, okay? And it is an AI voice changer. And I did this because I saw an article where it said a current president here had been AI'd, if you will, and had his voice altered. Well, actually, if you look at the Parrot app, and I'm not recommending it, by the way, I'm not for this, but I want you to understand just how prolific this whole process is. Trump, Biden, Obama, Andrew Tate, Steve Jobs, hello, he's been dead, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't remember now. Ben Shapiro, Elon Musk, they've all had their voices, their images all altered. And Parrot app allows you to go in there and, put in the voice of President Trump on something. And that doesn't make it legal, by the way. And if you're using it for clandestine activity, I'd be very, very careful because you might get yourself in legal trouble. But what is interesting here is you can even remove the made with Parrot watermark so that the people that are seeing it will think that it's actually President Trump or former President Biden or Obama actually talking. And so it's amazing how easy this is. The danger here is that it can be used to spread fake or politically charged or inaccurate disinformation, misinformation out there. But, there are several apps besides Parrot when you start to understand what is going on. I looked up Clone Obama's Voice. That's my phone. Clone Donald Trump's Voice. That's on4t.com. IMOBIE.com is another one, and clevguard.com. Now, all of those are .coms. I found that interesting, but then here come 11 Labs, and it's .io. Well, .io tells you that it's in what they call a bulletproof hosting country. In other words, that is being housed not in the United States, not in one of the sophisticated European or Australian or UK countries. No, these are being housed offshore in countries that basically don't ask, don't tell. They charge a lot of money, and you can put your servers in there, and that's where you get hardcore porn. That's where you get child pornography that's stored on there. And in this case, you get a cloning thing called 11 Labs that can literally use and provide you with the voice of other people. This is just getting started. Last year, fake images of Taylor Swift were circulated on social media sites. It started on X, but it was passed off as others. Before she could get that down, now she has an advantage. She has a lot of money and she's a well-known figure, but it is important for her to get it down. But she was able to contact people and get them to bring that down. It's not as easy if you're a sixth grade kid that's being blackmailed in your high school, which is totally capable using this technology. This was viewed by tens of millions of people before they removed it. Nothing on the internet is truly gone forever, though, and you will continue to see those here and there on less regulated channels. Now, that's as of January 25th, 2024. So I want you to realize something. 14 months have gone by where this technology has become even more prolific, even more disseminated, even more sophisticated. I saw a news release, I guess, yesterday from Melania Trump. Now, Million Kids is a non-political organization. We are here to keep kids safe from predators, and our donors come from both sides of the aisle. So we respect everyone's opinion. But I'm going to tell you, I stand behind Melania Trump, and I give her a lot of credit. She doesn't know me from Adam, so that's okay. I'm not getting any brownie points for this. But my point is, somebody of significance stood up and took a stand for this. And my other point is, where the hell have all the other people been? And why has it taken this long? Because this crime of sextortion using technology has been going on now for at least 15 to 24 months, and a lot of people have been hurt, but a lot more people are going to get hurt if we don't take this on and create legislation and create consequences for people that are doing this, especially to our kids and to our old people. So hats off to Melania Trump for doing this. She is promoting a bipartisan bill that aims to bolster protections against the non-consensual dissemination of sexual images, including those generated by AI, and targets deepfake and revenge pornography. Now, what have I just said there? I obviously took that off of a news release there. But what they're saying is that they're taking deepfake. A deepfake is simply you take the body part of one person and put another body part on it, and you change the image of that. Child pornographers are doing this in a big way. Child pornographers really get off and collecting thousands, sometimes millions of images of little kids being violated. It's just the sickest damn thing you've ever heard in your life. I can't stand it to watch how this happens. It is a very sick kind of thing that goes on in child pornography. But they can use this deep fake imagery to create the image of a child being violated. That facial image of that child will be out there forever, even if they've never been touched themselves physically, even if they've had a body put onto their head in the photo and they themselves have not been violated, their image has been violated. And we need, number one, we need technology that can go in and scan the images, these bots and algorithms that can go over the platforms and find those images and get them off. But we also need to pay attention and get laws, because pedophiles will tell you that is not pedophilia because the child was not violated. Their image was violated and violated forever. Not only that, you have revenge pornography, and we've been dealing with revenge pornography for a long time. It's also called non-consensual pornography. And basically that would be two people who are doing their thing together privately, and somebody films it, and then, somebody goes on, in this case, and alters that image and then puts it out on the internet. The problem with any image online, and I hope this is mom and dad listening here, okay, and young people, and you share this, whatever image goes online, whether your child sends a nude of themselves or they have someone alter their image, that image can be out online around the world for the rest of their life. And guess what? When you get ready to go to college, those people do a search of online. When you get ready to do a job, you get searched online. If you want to join the military, you get searched online. If you want a job where you're going to have a Secret Service clearance, it's going to get searched online. Those images can stay out there forever. So Melania Trump has made a quote I wanted to share with you today. Every young person deserves a safe online space to express themselves free without the looming threat of exploitation. Now, I put the date down, March 17th, 2025. That is ideal, but I'm going to tell you that most likely will never happen. I cannot imagine a world where the online space is going to be safe. And I think we need to raise I think we need to do what Melania Trump is doing by getting people motivated to pass laws. Certainly we need to stand against it, but we also need to raise children to understand the minute you go online, it is not a game. It's not just some social media that you're going back and forth on. You are on the World Wide Web, and you are connected with up to 5 billion users. Many of them are in poor countries around the world that now have 5G high-speed internet and can reach your child. And your child needs to know that when they go out there, there is not going to be anyone who's looking out for their well-being. And you probably ought to understand that before you ever put a child online. I'm a firm believer, mom and dad, that you yourself need to be educated on the World Wide Web, who's on there, what's out there, what their causes are, and how you can be harmed, because you get harmed online. It is a life-changing experience. Those photos are out there forever. The other thing that I will tell you, especially with young males, but also females, is the humiliation, the embarrassment, the fear, the trauma that a young person experiences when their nude image is online and out for others to see is a life-changing event. And we need to get ahead of this and understand how deep it is and what we can do to prepare our kids so they don't take drastic action if they become a victim. Well, Melania was promoting the Take It Down Act, and I think that should happen. NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, is an organization that started this Take It Down kind of activity. And it is very, very helpful. And what it basically does is if you are being blackmailed, if you've been sextorted in some way, what you do is contact NCMEC and you send in the photo that is online, and they will run the bot and algorithms to find it and take it down where they can. Here's the problem with it. If you have sent a photo online, you most likely have deleted it from your phone. And if you don't have that image, they can't take it down. The other problem with that is as we get into AI, the image that you have may not be the one that's floating out there because they have the technology to change it. But this is a good website, okay? Take It Down. It's legislation introduced by Ted Cruz. It makes it unlawful to knowingly publish non-consensual intimate imagery. We've advanced to the point where that's called NCII. If you didn't catch it, let me give it to you again. Non-consensual intimate imagery, NCII. So Ted Cruz is making a law that he's going to present here. Now, there's two different kinds of Take It Down. There's a service called Take It Down that is provided by NCMEC, 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 National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And they provide the service that if your nude is online, if your negative imagery is online, as long as you have that photo in your phone, you can send it in to them and they will search for it, and wherever they can find it, they will take it down. Now, that doesn't mean everything comes off the internet, but they will look for what they can find and take it down. The key to that is you or your child has to have the original image. But along with that now, Ted Cruz is coming up with legislation with the very same name, Take It Down. And in this, he's saying that they are going to make it unlawful to knowingly publish non-consensual intimate imagery, NCII, you got that, non-consensual intimate imagery, including digital forgeries, meaning things that have been altered, created with AI software or deepfake pornography. And they're going to require social media and similar websites to have in place procedures to remove such content upon notification from a victim. So what has happened is NCMEC has created the service, assuming you have the original photo and you haven't deleted it or your child hasn't deleted it. And now Ted Cruz is going to make this unlawful. And I'm very, very proud. He's got Melania Trump to put her name behind it. And I'm very, very proud that they're doing this. Now, this is not the be-all and cure-all. I'd like to tell you it is, but it isn't. Okay, but it is a step in the right direction. We have to start to create laws that can go after that. AI-generated explicit images are increasing online. Many states now have laws that protect the individual from revenge pornography. But only 20 states have laws covering the deep fake imagery. So we need federal laws to go after this, and I'm very proud that she's putting her name on it. So why does all this matter? Well, artificial intelligence has the ability to do many contributions that are positive and good for law enforcement, but more and more and more, we are seeing ways that it can be misused, and misused by minors, by other kids, by students, misused by pedophiles, misused by ex-boyfriends and girlfriends, misused by criminals in third world countries who want to blackmail you or blackmail your child and get money. So one of the things that we need to understand is the level of damage that takes place in a deep fake image. This is just not some photo being altered. This is somebody's life that is being changed forever. And in some cases, it is bringing the trauma to the point that the young people are killing themselves, are committing suicide because they instantly panic and they think they are absolutely ruined and they don't know how to ask for help. And that is the purpose of this podcast today, Mom and Dad, is to talk about how this works, give you a couple of examples, and tell you how you can change this. So before we go too far, I want you to think first about what I call the technological transformation. We have experienced a technological transformation unlike ever seen in all of history in the last 2 to 3 years, especially since COVID. And what has happened is the first one, I have a book out there if you want to buy it. It's called Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. And it's on millionkids.org. It's also on Amazon.com. And I would encourage you to read that book. But what is coming together is the entire world is now connected by internet. Places like Nigeria and Ivory Coast and Belize and Myanmar, they have 5G high-speed internet. And that means that there are now 5 billion people online, even in very, very poor countries. And so what happens is they bring in their poor kids and basically use them as slaves. Many of them are victims also. But what they do, they're called chatters, and they put their kids online to like a 14-year-old hot girl or guy to our kids and try to lure our kid into sending a nude. But even if they don't send a nude, they have all kinds of technology. If they can just get the image of your person, they can alter it. So you have this 5G high-speed internet that can reach your child at any given time. And what's really scary about that is 69% of kids sleep with their phone. How smart are you at 3 a.m? Let alone your hormonal kid, or your kid has had a bad day at school, or they're about to flunk, or, their girlfriend broke up with them, or they're hot and heavy in a video game and they forget that camera works both ways. They catch them at a weak moment and they get a kid to send a photo. We need to stop that conversation right now. Recent surveys said that 1 out of 6 boys and 1 out of 7 girls, and by these I mean mostly teenagers, have sent a nude online. I think that's the darndest thing I ever heard of. I can't even imagine 2 14-year-old kids meeting in a mall going, "Hey, baby, you're hot. Let's go to the bathroom, strip naked, and I'll take a picture of you and you can take a picture of me and we'll see what you do with it afterwards." But that's basically what's happening online because they're not able to perceive the reality of what is about to happen once that photo leaves. Million Kids is in the process of raising the funding to create a series of 1-minute videos. By the way, if you want to help us fund that, you can go to millionkids.org and make a donation. We'd love you forever, I promise, okay? But we want a series of 1-minute videos by kids for kids, about never, never, never again send a nude online. I did, now I'm blackmailed. Now they want more photos. They're threatening to ruin me. They demanded money. I gave them $3,000. Now they want $5,000. Never, never, never again will I send a photo online. We want a series of photos of videos that we're creating to put them out there to talk to kids. Well, at the same time, we have geolocation software. That means they know exactly where you and your child lives. And think about the amount of information that is online about you now. If your home was on Zillow, they have your child's bedroom. Okay. If they know where you work, they know where your child goes to school. They know if they're in a sport or not. They have a picture of the family. These are all photos they can use to blackmail someone. One of the craziest ones is that now every app has some money transfer on it. Think about what that means, like Zelle and PayPal and all of those. You don't have to go to Target to get a gift card if you're being blackmailed. You just push a button and send the people money. And these kids are the first kids that know how to do that because they've been using Bitcoin in their video games long before you and I even knew what the word AI meant. So when you start to put all of this together, along with the fact that now third world countries need a lot of money and they can alter an image of you or grandma and grandpa or your kids at any given time and start demanding money, it is time for your whole family to stop and have a family conference and start to talk about this. Look at the cases. I'm going to give you some cases here in a minute that you can go on to YouTube and start to look at so that you can understand it. The best way to stay current on this is follow Million Kids at millionkids.org. So as we look at this, the case that brought me to doing this podcast today is the case of Elijah Heacock. Now, this just happened. So I'm in March of 2025. And it is a case where the family is discussing this. Initially, I saw a podcaster that said that Elijah had actually sent the photos. But when I see that, so I don't know if that's true. It's one of those cases. There's a lot of stuff out there. But every article I read after that was by the family and the FBI. And what they said is that Elijah Heacock was an amazing kid. He was, I think he was 15. I'll see in a minute. But he got involved in something where they took his image and altered it. The FBI, in the course of this article, said that there are more than 13 cases of financial sextortion nationwide from 2021 to 2023. Now, 13,000 cases? 13,000 cases ending in 2023. And I say to myself, wait a minute, that's old data. How do I get the new data? Because that's 2 years ago. What's that number now as we see more and more capability to alter an image? With Kentucky seeing more than 300 cases. Well, the case of Elijah Heacock is from Kentucky. So I looked this up, and he took his own life not very long ago, a couple of weeks ago. According to the report, the crimes most often impact teenage boys between the ages of 14 and 17. Now, I'm quoting the FBI here, but I want to do a sidebar with you, Mom and Dad. So many of these cases, and I have read every case of a kid taking their own life, and it is heartbreaking. I can only do about one a day. I'm no different than you. I can only take so much bad news, and these are heartbreaking. Can you imagine losing your son to a Nigerian telemarketing scam, or your daughter to a Philippine telemarketing scam because nobody was educated about this? It's amazing. But one of the things that I read as I studied all these cases were how many of them were 16 and 17, and they were males. And the parent over and over and over again would just be in despair. And they would say, this kid is 17 years old and he's 6'2". He looked like a man to me, and I quit checking his phone. We quit having those articles because I thought he knew. And we quit having that discussion because I thought he understand. But that isn't how it is, because the third world countries know exactly how to use their chatters to lure in these kids that are 14 to 17. I would be willing to tell you that it is no accident that they know that between the ages of 13 and 17, you're extremely hormonal. We all were, okay? And it's easy to be lured in as they know how to push those buttons. They said that in Kentucky alone, there were 300 offenders that have been arrested in conjunction with sextortion. But that's the local offenders. This is the FBI article. So I look at the Elijah Heacock story, and he took his life in the month of March in 2025. And he was most likely, according to the FBI, a target of an overseas sextortion scheme, but at least one that is AI generated. In this case, the FBI said the photos were completely fabricated. This is why I am doing this podcast today. This is my first case of sextortion I've seen where you have suicide based on a completely fabricated image. They were AI-generated images of him, whereas predators opted for financial sextortion. So let me back up a minute, Mom and Dad. So there's different kinds of sextortions. There's different kinds of predators. Some of them want more photos. Some of them want to meet up with your child and violate your child. Some of them want to hurt or kill your child. And in a few cases, we've seen where the whole family was killed. But those are different kinds of cases where they're looking for more photos or a hookup or that kind of thing. Financial sextortion is kind of a new phenomena that's been around about 2 to 3 years. And this is, as I was saying, third world countries that now have high-speed internet that can now come into your child's bedroom or their video game and trick your child into sending an image, and now they want money. This is not about more photos or blackmail, more photos that are part of pedophilia. These are third world people that have found out they can get billions of dollars from Americans and UK and Australia. It is a global phenomena by blackmailing our children and getting them to send money. And they are absolutely ruthless. Several of these cases I'm going to show you and share with you that I hope that you will share with your child when you sit down and talk with them. They want thousands, and they will. One kid, I'll never forget this. I think his name was Tevin Tobler, and he got 1,000 texts in a 24-hour period the minute they got a nude from him. You are worthless. You're no good. You might as well kill yourself because we're going to destroy you. You're a dead man. All of these kinds of threats were made to that young man. I don't know a human being that can stand against these kinds of cartel-driven kinds of crime. I don't know that happened in this case. But in this case, we don't believe Elijah actually sent the photo. This is the first case where they altered a photo, according to the FBI. They said, the FBI is saying the photos were completely fabricated. They're AI generated images of him, and they are wanting $3,000. He actually sent them 50. Now, I have many of these cases that I've read where the kids actually sent them 500. I know one kid that sent 8,000. One of the conversations to have with your child is if somebody's wanting money, they need to come to you immediately and trust you enough. It may be their image or it may be a generated image. But if they're asking for money, the kid needs to understand they will never have enough money to stop these people. There is no intention of them ever stopping. Eli attempted to take his own life within an hour of receiving the threatening messages. Now, this is why I think that this podcast is so important. These suicides by these kids happen very quickly. And I believe with all my heart, Mom and Dad, this is a conversation. We got to get out ahead of it long before they ever get themselves in this situation. These kids need to understand the world they're living in and a promise that between you, they will trust you enough to come to you and not do something crazy. Because the kids that are taking their own lives are not those kids that are at risk, always in trouble. No, these are some of the most successful kids you've ever met. Homecoming kings, sports people like that. We do know for a fact that all of Elijah's pictures were AI generated. This is the mother speaking. There's two parts to this. Whoever's doing this is harming our children, causing the suicide. But then also you have the fact that it is considered a homicide. Now, that's an interesting statement. Now, this is the mother saying this. She's saying that she learned this through the FBI. But that is an interesting approach. Is it a type of weapon that would qualify as homicide? That's the first time I've seen that situation, but I applaud the willingness to look into it. Burnett said when the FBI realized his case could be part of a sextortion scheme, they quickly placed his phone on airplane mode to preserve the evidence. Pay attention to that, mom and dad, or anybody who's involved as an advocate in this. I did not realize that myself till I read this article. This is why I do the research, by the way, is that we all are learning this as we go. Nobody has all the answers. This is the reason why we have a team of experts that do research here at Million Kids, because every day is something new. So I have learned that one of the things to do, if you see somebody that is being sextorted, teach your child to put it in airplane mode so that all that conversation can be frozen. Now, your child's going to go, I don't want anybody to look at that. I get it. I've heard that before. Okay. But your child needs to know that they are not the only victim on earth. And if they're willing to report, we can all stand beside them. If they don't delete that, even if they've sent a nude, okay, we get it. It's bad. It's not pretty. You don't want everybody seeing it, especially your folks. You get that. But save that photo, screenshot that photo, and put it in airplane mode, because not only can you save yourself and work with law enforcement to keep these people from doing this, but you might be able to save hundreds and maybe thousands of other kids and other families, because your child is not the only victim. Airplane mode saves the information that was on the phone for the authorities to help track that down and build their case against the individual that did this or individuals. When we spoke with the FBI, it's possible that this is a well-known network that was involved in this. This is the mother speaking here. Burnett believed they were doing enough with checking Eli's phone, but with modern day technology, the predatory interactions are more advanced. And then the quote on this, the enemy has upgraded. By the way, that's the title of this article. The enemy has upgraded. They do not need your kid's photo. They can do it on your own. This is AI generated sextortion. Now, let me take it a different direction. I talked a little bit about it in the last podcast, but I want to reiterate this because I want you to know the latest information out there. So in late 2024, they had a case of AI generated deepfakes at a middle school in Beverly Hills, Beverly Vista Middle School. 5 8th graders were expelled for creating and sharing nude photos of classmates. Now, they're lucky they only got expelled, because that is against the law. And that is one of the conversations you need to have with your child. And they probably ought to sign a contract before you ever hand your child a phone that they will not create a deep fake. I think I need to put that on my notes now I think about it. But what is happening now, on the one hand, I get the human factor of this. These kids are, 14 years old, 15 years old, they're in middle school. I could imagine it, when I was 14 or 15, I was a little ornery. And I can imagine if somebody handed you the technology where you could put somebody's head on somebody else's nude body, everybody would crack up and go, well, let's do this one and let's do this one, blah, 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 blah. And I get it. I really get it, mom and dad. But your child needs to understand, number one, they are forever harming the person whose face is on that body, and they will pay a huge price because this is illegal. Now, these guys are underage and they're working through it at this point, but that conversation needs to take place because this is illegal. It's called child pornography. Anytime you have the image of someone under the age of 18 in a sexual or nudity or sexual interaction, illicit interaction, it is child pornography. It is called CSAM, child sexual abuse material, and it is illegal and against the law. So mom and dad, you need to look up the case here for Beverly Vista Middle School sextortion and have that conversation with your children. One of the things I got out of that article that just simply blew me away, and I thought I knew everything, right? Anyway, did you know there are more than 60 nudify sites out there? 60. I looked them up. I go, what the heck is a nudify site? Man, I'm getting old, I never heard of it. And they are apps and websites Many of them are offshore. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And they allow anyone, including fifth graders, to go on and take the image of somebody and put a naked body on it. And it's called a nudify site. And there's 60 of them. One of them had over 24 million visitors on it. So it isn't totally new, okay? But as I started looking at them, like Penly.ai/undress, clothoff.io, these are bulletproof hosting sites. They are sites that are going to be very hard to prosecute because they are, again, in what is called a bulletproof hosting country, a country like Russia and China, Malaysia and Iceland and Indonesia and Romania and Albania. They don't care what is on your website. And those are the sites that handle all the hardcore pornography and the dating sites, by the way. Beware if you're one of those Date My Age was on Malta. Those sites you can't sue them. They're in countries that basically don't ask, don't tell. So if your child is on one of those sites, they're going to see stuff they never should see. So talk to your child. They should promise you that they will never, number one, go out and meet up with someone you met online, because I can give you at least 30 stories where that's ended bad and often ends in rape and death. In a couple of cases, the whole family is in the death. And so this is a challenge for parents. I believe you need a contract between your child and yourself. I also think that you and your child need to understand that there is more than one kind of bad guy out there. There's AI that is being done by people for fun. There's AI that's being done for third world countries where they just want to get a lot of money out of you and destroy your life. Sometimes it's an individual pedophile that wants power and control over your child and demands photos and like that. Sometimes they will entice the individual to believing they actually care about them. They get in a fantasy relationship. They get into erotic live streaming, and it's for their own pleasure. Once they have your image, they own you. Unless you can teach your child to come and talk to an adult and not take crazy action. And it's important to have that dialogue right up front. So AI is going to be used in many, many ways to change reality. We were talking about you can use President Trump's name on it. It can be used where they can gather all the information about you, where you live, and use that to scare your child. Also, they can be using AI to make your child look the perpetrator look acceptable to your child. They can create the images. And by the way, they do these on dating sites. I've met more than one widower or widow that's in love with somebody on an oil rig somewhere, and they've sent them $30,000 of their life savings. And but I talk to them by video. There are AI generated videos is what is happening. That person is not real. The same can happen to your child. And this is going to become more and more so, where your child is talking to a total stranger and they start believing, and then they don't realize until it's too late that they are being scammed. These are used on so many dating sites, especially if they are offshore dating sites like the one Date My Age, because that is often a country that asks no questions. So one of the discussions to have with your child is, how can you tell if this is going to be a relationship that's going to empower you and make you better off, or this is a relationship that is going to take you down some way, down a path that you don't want to go down and will be hard to recover from. The first hint that you are talking to a bad person is they will try to move you from one app to the other. If you're on a dating site, they want to talk offline. If you're on, maybe you're on TikTok, they move you over to Instagram. They want to see if you're undercover law enforcement and if you're willing to trust them, okay? Then they say, hey, this is our little secret. Don't tell anybody. And then they may start sending photos. If you're on a romance site, they very quickly start to come up with ways that you need to pay money or invest in cryptocurrency or get your Microsoft software updated somehow. Pay attention to all of that. They ask all the questions, you're doing all the answering. Okay. They're making the demands. You're the one that's capitulating. That's not a relationship. That's a negotiation, and you're losing. I hate to tell you that. They'll start sending you photos, even if they're normal photos. Pretty soon they're getting more and more risky. They're getting you in the habit. These are all signs that you're headed down a dangerous path. They want to meet up. Hello, run, baby, run. And they threaten to harm themselves or you if you try to break it off. So what can we do about all of this? Number one is I hope that you will, in advance, every one of these parents that I saw in these just heartbreaking videos. And by the way, these were fine parents. These are not people who are, only come home once a month or whatever. These are helicopter parents in many cases. They thought they understood their child and that their child would trust them enough. But what we need to understand as society, and mom and dad and grandma and grandpa need to understand as human beings, that if you see your entire life flash before your eyes with a nude image of you and a list of all your Instagram followers, and a list of all your TikTok followers, and a list of all your friends, and a picture of your house and your mom and dad, you get mortified beyond anything anybody. You're embarrassed, you're ashamed, you panic, you don't know what to do. And your first thing is, it's over. I'm a dead man. And they will tell you that. Okay. So the first thing you do is have that discussion early on. Let's talk about the world you're about to live in, because I don't understand all of it. It's not the world I ever lived in. So how do I prepare you to live safely in this world? And how can I prepare you so that if you become a victim of this, you will trust me enough to not panic, but you and I will walk through it. So when they come to you, don't panic. I know it's hard, but listen to them. And don't blame them. The worst thing that can happen when they trusted you enough to come talk to you is you start wagging your finger going, what the hell were you thinking sending that video? Well, mom, I'm not sure it's my video. Well, we don't know, but they got something from you. Don't go there, mom and dad. Just stop and give them a big hug and say, this may be the toughest thing our family has ever been through, but I believe in you. I love you, and your family is going to be right here with you. And you need to have that discussion long before these kinds of events ever happen. So educate everyone in your family about overseas criminal groups. I'm going to give you some cases that I want you to see. Continue to follow Me and Kids here at meandkids.org. We post these cases. By the way, we have a great Facebook site. It is absolutely private, because we talk about gangs and cartels in there, but we post these cases, and you can sign up for it at Million Kids Supporters. That doesn't mean you have to send us money. It'd be nice if you did, but that's okay. We're a nonprofit, so we need money, but that isn't my point here. My point is, I want you to see the latest cases so you have the material to share with your child. So educate yourself and your family about overseas criminal groups and how they use fake girls, especially. They can use fake guys for girls, but they really are focusing on young guys. They catch them in a weak moment. Maybe they're flunking out of school, or they lost a football game, or they broke up with their girlfriend, or it's 3 a.m, or they're playing a video game and they're hot and heavy and they forget live streaming works both ways. Hello. They get them in a weak moment. Share with them that they should never, ever, ever send a photo to anyone they meet online. I don't care if they've done it in the past. Never again, period. that is like a loaded weapon out there against them. And I use that term loosely, okay? But anytime you have, and this is true of adults too, anytime you have a photo online, you're in danger because number one, they can either use that to blackmail you or to alter it to blackmail you. Warn that they would never, ever, ever meet up with one of these people and try to pay them off or under any circumstances. But also talk about AI, because where we're headed, the reason I'm doing this podcast is we're just getting started. This is going to be the way of the future. If you have a 15-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, just imagine the world your 7-year-old daughter is going to live in. And so I think you have to get the entire family to start to have this conversation of a world without borders. So long before the younger person goes online, they understand the dangers of it. And we also talk about how you can be perfectly innocent. You've never put anything out there, and somewhere they got a photo of you of online. And by the way, it can happen to husband and wife too, for what it's worth. And that image can be modified and you can be blackmailed. So everybody is at risk, and we need that conversation. I also think it's important that we talk to our kids and ourselves, that it's important to have empathy for other victims. You know, right now, a kid gets an image of nude sent out and it goes all over school. Everybody laughs. He's bullied. He's ostracized. So things are written on walls and like that. And that kid often has to change schools. You know, with artificial intelligence, every one of us is going to become a victim at some point. So we need to back up now and start educating all of this right now. I think it needs to be taught in schools. That how do you stand up for each other and look out for each other? Because if you can get one of these people to report, you can save a lot of other kids that are out there. So talk now, start early. Before they ever get a phone, but if they have a phone, start having family conversations. And it's not that, don't you ever do that because blah, 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 blah. It is, you live in a whole different world. Talk about the impact of AI on truth. You get a news release and you say, is this true or has this been altered? I mean, they're using President Trump's voice now to say other things, and it's not his voice. Our kids are growing up in a completely different world. And we need to be modern enough as parents and talented enough and loving enough and forgiving enough and having enough grace to understand how difficult these kids' lives are going to be. And so we can't use this, you be careful in that thing now, okay? We got to grow up, mom and dad, real quick and help our kids get bully proof. Along with that, I'm going to share with you about I Believe in You. Me and kids, one of our mottos is I believe the 4 most powerful words on earth are I believe in you. And I mean that with all my heart, because here's this kid at their most difficult time in their whole life, especially if they're maybe an at-risk kid where they've had a broken family or a lot of running away or break up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, something like that. One of the most important things that we can give to each other, and that not only our kids, to our husbands and our wives, is these 4 words, and that is I believe in you. Million Kids sells challenge coins, and they last forever. They last for generations. It's a tremendous legacy, by the way, for grandparents to give to their kids. It will last long after you're gone. And it is those 4 words, I believe in you. And you can order those. They're $22 a piece, and they are incredible graduation gifts, birthday gifts, Christmas presents, whatever. But they are an incredible gift to give to someone that will last a lifetime. But it is important that you let your child know, look, you're living in a different generation than I ever knew. And I don't understand all of it, but you and I are going to learn it together. And this is important, especially if you have an older child. You can say, I need you to be the leaders to the younger kids in our family, because by the time they get your age, the world is going to be a completely different place. And it'll be hard to understand truth. one of the things that I recommend mom and dad that you might want to do, it's heavy, but you might want to go to YouTube and put in teen suicide and share with your family the story of Jordan DeMay. Now, I don't have permission from the family. I'm not going to go through all of these, but they're all on public recording, and you should see it. Jordan DeMay is Jordan. Last name is DE space MAY. There's also a great one with James Wood. He was an incredible young man out here in Los Angeles. He was a runner. His mom and dad now go out into schools and do performances and assemblies and like that. And you might also want to look up Elijah Heacock. That's Elijah, last name Heacock, Heacock. Heacock. He is the one that had the recent suicide based on a deep fake. And I think that it's important to look at that and have those conversations with kids. So along with that, I want to give you some things that you can do. Discuss with your kids about Jordan DeMay or James Wood and why you never want to send a nude online. Never again. We are raising the money to make these 1-minute videos from kids to kids so they understand where a nude goes when you hit send. And quite frankly, our kids need to understand anybody who's asking for your nude is not got good intentions for you, because you don't really know who they are and you don't know where that's going to go. This is not a sport. It's not a game. It's an instant where they get tricked into doing this. They probably never did it before, but the minute a nude goes online, your life has changed forever. So we need to talk about why they want your nude and that you must never ever again send a nude online. Talk about how you can tell if it's an empowering relationship or an exploitative relationship. They're doing all the demanding. They're trying to get you to send a nude, or they're sending you one. They move you. That's the big one right off the bat. They will move you from one app to the other very quickly. So as we look at this, I encourage parents to have a social media contract. And I'm just doing this spur of the moment because I don't have it in my notes here, but I'm going to add a 5th line to this. But the first one is every app your young person has online, you as a parent should have that app on your phone. And if you don't know how to use it, get your kid to tell you and show you so that you can understand what your child is doing. There's a lot of software out there where you can mimic everything they get, where you can filter. Even if they're 17 years old and 6'2", it is not too late to check a phone. Agree that they will never, ever send a photo, video, live stream that will cause them or your family embarrassment, okay? That they will never knowingly do that. They will agree that they'll never, ever go out and meet up with someone they met online. And they will agree that if they're being threatened in any way, they will come to you and report it so that they won't panic and do something crazy. And you will help them. So this is really, really the important one, especially if it's a deep fake. But whatever it is, you're going to be there for them. You believe in them, you trust them, you know them, and you know that all of us have weak moments, but whatever it is, they will trust you enough to not do something crazy. Try not to solve it yourself. If they're asking for money, that is a huge thing. And so my 5th thing will be anybody who asks for money online, they will come to you. And you will do your very best to be cool with it and help them through that. Another thing I recommend is every family get a code word. My favorite word is wackadoodle, but that's not my code word. I wouldn't tell you. Anyway, but think of some word that goes between you, because you need to be able to trust each other. And online with artificial intelligence in the future, you won't be able to identify anything. If you see your child changing in their behavior, pay attention to that. I highly recommend that you get yourself cool and calm. Don't be excitable. Don't get wagging your finger. Don't get all upset at them. That you simply sit down and say, I see you dealing with something deep. Can we talk about that? And be quiet and let them respond. If they can't respond, then you simply say, there's crazy stuff online. Is that something? Can we talk about that? If they can't respond to that, then I would say to them, I don't know what it is, but this is what I do know. I love you. I believe in you. You can trust me. I trust you. And we will find a way to get through this together. If you are in a situation like that, not only I can help you through it, but you can help others that might be being blackmailed. Now, here's what you don't do. You don't go in there and say, you lousy blah, 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 pedophile, leave my child alone. Okay. Sometimes they send the nudes out. Sometimes they send them to the parents. Sometimes they send them to other people. But whatever you do, you don't alert that pedophile that you know. And you don't delete the photo. It's just like the airplane mode that we talked about. Don't delete that photo. In fact, use another phone and screenshot it. Now, I know that's hard to look at if your child sent a nude. I get that. It'll turn your stomach, but we got to be tough. We're the adult in the room. And what you do is you do not show that photos to other people. That's your child's dignity, okay? But you and the young person quietly go down to the police department and file with cybercrime so that your law enforcement officer might be able to stand in for your child. But have that conversation with your child that they do not panic. They do not think that their life is over. They are not the first and they won't be the last. And you hope it never happens to them. But if they did, we want them to be the leader on how to combat this for all future generations. Now, don't alert that predator, save everything. And then when it's all over, I think people need counseling. I think the young person needs counseling separate than the parent. That's because no young person I ever met, including myself, by the way, don't want to talk about sex with my folks. My folks have been dead for years, but I never liked talking about sex with my folks. But anyway, don't show it around. But I also think you need to get counseling. I think the young person needs counseling. I think the parents need counseling. And if there are younger people in that family that may have been spotted on that webcam, they need counseling too, because I've had more than one case where you have a 16-year-old boy where they saw the 12-year-old sister, and you need to think that out. Finally, I would say, let's talk about grace. I hope this doesn't happen to you, but if it does, I want you to know I believe in you and I will forgive you and we will get through it together. I would like to invite you to see our movie. It is still out there at Amazon.com is the biggest one, Apple and iTunes. It is called Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. It was filmed inside Homeland Security. I'm the executive producer of it. I always forget. I'm a co-executive producer of it. I'm very, very grateful for this film. It has saved and changed many lives. Recently, 2 boys came forward. One had already paid $500 and they wanted more. Another one paid $8,000 and they're out of money. This is an important family for an important film for everyone in your family to see. Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. You can find it at sextortionfilm.com. So I'd encourage you to look at our website on meandkids.org. Sign up for our newsletter. If you have a young person in your life, you might want to buy a challenge coin for $22. We'll send them out to you in a nice velvet bag. If you have a situation you want to report, you can report anonymously or not. And this is at NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 1-888-3737-888. I'm going to say it one more time, 1-888-3737-888. Now, this is not 911. If you have an immediate situation, you go to your local law enforcement and you ask for cyber crimes. The suicide hotline on there is 988. It is a suicide and crisis hotline. And finally, you can reach me either at info@meandkids.org or Opal, O-P-A-L. My name is Opal Singleton. Opal, O-P-A-L, @meandkids.org. I hope that this has been helpful to all of you. I hope you've learned a lot. We're going to be doing these podcasts every week. Save them, share them with your friends, replay them, whatever you want to do. But we want to educate as many people as possible. So feel free to share these anywhere that you can. And be sure and sign up for our newsletter. Until then, welcome to Protect and Prevent. I hope it's been helpful. And I'll see you next time on our recording, on our podcast, Protect and Prevent at millionkids.org. Take care. I believe in you.